Donald Trump recently removed a statement that could have revealed his most significant legal weakness to date. The Epstein documentation emerged. Trump responded. Then he rushed to delete the proof. This isn't political theater. This concerns what occurs when someone wielding unlimited authority recognizes the net is tightening. From a prosecution standpoint, this represents the type of conduct that reveals everything necessary. On January 3, 2025, a federal tribunal in the Southern District of New York disclosed approximately 1,000 pages of formerly confidential materials connected to the Jeffrey Epstein matter. These aren't fresh accusations. These are judicial records, proof that's remained restricted for years. Testimony that's been concealed, identities that influential figures prayed would never reach public view. And Trump's identity surfaced repeatedly. Now, let's clarify what we're confronting here. These materials originate from a defamation litigation initiated by Virginia Giuffre against Ghislaine Maxwell. The matter resolved years prior, but the foundational proof, depositions, witness accounts, travel records, that content remained restricted until recently. The mainstream story has been whitewashed. Epstein maintained relationships with influential figures. Trump recognized Epstein through social circles, broad, ambiguous, protected. Here's what they're concealing from you. The materials disclosed feature particular accusations connecting Trump to Epstein's estates during the time frame when the exploitation was methodical and continuous. We're discussing Mar-a-Lago. We're discussing Manhattan. We're discussing schedule coincidences that any skilled prosecutor would instantly notice. Trump's initial reaction. He published a declaration on Truth Social, labeling the disclosure a persecution and asserting he prohibited Epstein from Mar-a-Lago years earlier. Typical strategy. Divert, revise the past, manage the story. But here's where it becomes precarious. Within hours, that statement was removed. Not modified, removed. Consider this momentarily. Why would anyone remove a refutation? Why would you eliminate your own justification from a prosecution standpoint? There are merely a handful of explanations you retract a public declaration that rapidly. 1. Your counsel informed you it's legally dangerous. 2. The declaration includes a demonstrable falsehood that could be leveraged against you subsequently. 3. You recognize you just generated proof of awareness of culpability. Let that register. When someone possessing Trump's communication expertise, someone who has consistently refused to retreat from confrontation, who has criticized judges, prosecutors, witnesses, the FBI, the DOJ. When that individual removes a statement defending themselves, it signifies something substantial just transpired privately. Here's what they're withholding from you about why this material disclosure is significant. The Southern District of New York isn't a partisan entity. It's among the most distinguished and forceful prosecution departments in the nation. When SDNY releases materials, it's not accidental. It's calculated. These records were released because a federal magistrate determined that the public benefit exceeded confidentiality considerations. That's a judicial criterion. It demands proof that openness advances justice. What does that indicate? It indicates the tribunal believes there's content in these materials the public deserves to access. Content that affects responsibility for influential persons. Now, combine that with Trump's response. A prosecutor examines removed declarations the identical way we examine eliminated proof. It demonstrates recognition. It demonstrates purpose. It demonstrates you understood something was improper. If Trump genuinely had nothing to conceal, If his association with Epstein was merely social and decades past, there would be zero justification to remove a refutation. But he did. And here's the critical point. We currently possess a documentation of that removal. Screenshots persist. Archives persist. The digital world doesn't erase. That signifies Trump just generated a sequence prosecutors fantasize about. January 3rd, materials disclosed. January 3rd, Trump publishes refutation. January 3rd, Trump removes refutation. That's awareness of culpability in actual time. Let me guide you through what's genuinely in these materials, because the press is suppressing the particulars. The Giuffre versus Maxwell matter included sworn statements from numerous witnesses who were questioned specifically about Trump's attendance at Epstein-connected gatherings and sites. One deposition explicitly identifies Trump as attending Mar-a-Lago during a gathering where minor females were similarly present. The witness characterizes Trump and Epstein as being extremely familiar during that time frame. Another material references a 2016 deposition where a witness was questioned about Trump's conduct at these gatherings. The response was restricted until this month. Now, does this establish criminal activity? Not independently, but from a prosecution standpoint, it confirms something essential: nearness and awareness. If you're constructing a matter, you must demonstrate the accused was positioned to understand what was occurring. You must demonstrate availability. You must demonstrate connection. These materials accomplish precisely that. They also contradict Trump's primary justification that he scarcely recognized Epstein, that he severed connections early, that he wasn't participating. Travel records, gathering attendance records, communication logs. These are the categories of materials that don't deceive, and they're currently public. Contrast this to how the DOJ managed other prominent matters involving influential men and accusations of sexual wrongdoing. When proof links someone to a criminal operation, even tangentially, prosecutors begin constructing a conspiracy matter. You don't require proving someone executed the foundational offense. You require proving they were component of the scheme, that they profited, that they understood. The removed statement, that's proof of awareness. Trump understood these materials existed. He understood what they contained, and he understood his public refutation wouldn't withstand scrutiny. This is larger than one matter. What we're observing is an evaluation of whether legal principles extend to former presidents. Trump has dedicated years contending he's protected from responsibility, presidential protection, executive entitlement, complete protection. But the Epstein materials aren't concerning his tenure in position. They're concerning behavior that purportedly transpired before, throughout, and following his presidency. That signifies no protection barrier. That signifies no executive entitlement justification. If DOJ or SDNY desired to advance this, the judicial route is available. And here's what renders this especially precarious for Trump. Epstein is deceased. Ghislaine Maxwell is incarcerated. The accomplices have either cooperated or been eliminated. That leaves one significant, outstanding inquiry. Who else participated? Prosecutors appreciate that inquiry because it generates tension. It generates influence. Presently, Trump is managing 4 distinct criminal matters. Federal confidential materials. Federal January 6th, Georgia RICO, New York State deception. Include Epstein into the combination, and you're examining a prospective 5th inquiry that contacts the forbidden subject of American governance, sexual offenses involving minors. No prosecutor desires to initiate that matter unless it's flawless. But if the proof exists, if the materials validate it, if witnesses confirm it, this transforms the complete judicial environment, and Trump recognizes it. That's why he removed the statement. Because the intelligent action, the action any skilled defense counsel would recommend, is to articulate nothing. Don't validate, don't refute, don't generate proof. But Trump couldn't restrain himself. He published. Then he worried. Then he eliminated. That's not the conduct of someone possessing a solid justification. That's the conduct of someone who just recognized the vulnerability is authentic. Here's the reality they prefer you don't comprehend. The Epstein records aren't disappearing. The materials are public. The judicial examination is escalating, and Trump's removed statement is currently a component of the documentation. From a prosecution standpoint, this is the category of development in the matter you anticipate when the accused accomplishes your task for you. When they generate the proof of culpability without you requiring to construct it, this isn't concluded. This is merely commencing. Remain educated, because what transpires next will establish whether authority continues protecting the influential or whether responsibility ultimately arrives. Additional reality forthcoming.